This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. First comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. We in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome, you are in the lab room. Of course, I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 3 in the National Football League. New Orleans Saints, home opener versus the Minnesota Vikings. Saints looking for their first win of the season. Who would have thought week 3 Saints would be looking for their first win of the season? Vikings coming into the game looking for their second. Let's talk about this game and see who was able to come out on top. Saints march right down the field on their opening drive that ends in a Pierre Thomas touchdown right away at 7-0. And that's much of what I expected in this game. I expected the New Orleans Saints to come home, get a little bit of home cooking, have some fun at the expense of the Vikings. I expected this to be a blowout. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be very frank. I thought that the Vikings were going to be blown out of the building. I didn't think they stood a chance in this game. And that second drive, I thought, was basically cementing what I had already thought. Saints make it look even easier on the second drive as they march right down the field and Josh Hill is hit for a 34-yard walk-in touchdown. It's 13-0 as the Saints fail on the point after try. So all of a sudden it's 13-0. I'm saying, yeah, this is going to be another day at the office for Breeze and company at home. They're going to cruise to a victory. Slow down, man. Pump your brakes a little bit. We go on to the second quarter. Vikes get into field goal range and they hammer it home, but they lose Matt Castle in the process. We're getting some Teto. So Teto is in. Out goes Castle. Teto in. Teto comes in, completes his first 2 passes, including a 41-yarder to Matt Asiata. It's 13-6 at halftime. Okay, Teto, I see you, buddy. So Teto pieces together a drive that results in a field goal. Into the third quarter we go, and it's 13-9. Saints really haven't done much of anything. They haven't separated themselves. I thought they were going to run away with this one easily, but Teto comes in the game, not turning it over, dunking and dipping and dunking like he normally does, and plays a very steady quarterback position. They don't do much offensively, but it's enough to put field goals on the scoreboard and stay close and within striking distance. Meanwhile, I think the Saints were counting on Matt Castle to play in this game so that he could throw them 1 or 2 interceptions and help them score some points. Now that Teto's in the game and he's not turning it over, oops. So all of a sudden we move on to the fourth quarter as the Saints have a bad snap in the third quarter that forces them to have to punt the football. Vikes are about to get off the field on a third down after blitzing Drew Brees and hitting home. Captain Munnerlyn suplexes Drew Brees, forcing the officials to toss out the hanky for a personal foul penalty, extending the drive of the New Orleans Saints, which would lead to a Brees to Colston touchdown hookup to put this game out of reach at 20-9. That would be your final score as the Saints get it done at home. Wasn't impressive. Wasn't the prettiest of victories, but nonetheless, it's a W. The Saints will take it. It's their first of the season. And Vikings fans, you got to excuse Captain Munnerlyn. He came from Carolina. That's where he got those rough housing tactics from. picking up quarterbacks and slamming them on the ground. That's what they do in Carolina. Very physical and nasty brand of football. You got to excuse him. He didn't know any better. And so that one pretty much sealed the deal for you in this game. But Teto came in, had a pretty positive showing on a day where the first-round quarterbacks were on display. Of course, Derek Carr has been starting since day one in Oakland, but Blake Bortles finally got on the field in Jacksonville. Teto on the field in Minnesota for the Vikings against the Saints. And now the only one left is Johnny Manziel. He got on the field, but not in the capacity that these quarterbacks got on the field. And so if you're the Vikings, now the question becomes, how do you build around Teto? How do you find ways to get the football in the end zone? Teto was able to move the team down the field, but only in a field goal capacity. How do you get the football in the end zone? Because as we all know, in this league, field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. And in this game, you weren't able to get in the end zone, so you lose the game 20-9. If you're the Saints, I need you to rev it up offensively. Defensively, this was a nice showing. And again, the Vikings aren't world beaters on the offensive side of football, so for you to do what you did to them, that's to be expected. But I'm looking for the Saints that scored 34 points, that could score 27 in the blink of an eye. You barely pieced together 20 points, especially after the hot start. For you to only have 20 points after having 13 after 2 possessions, that's a little alarming for me. I need you to rev it up. If you're New Orleans, I need you to get on your horse and start scoring some points. But you get the job done at home in your home opener versus the Minnesota Vikings. Now you're back on the road if you're in New Orleans. Got to get it done on the road. You've struggled on the road this season. You got to tighten up. And so that's going to do it for the review of Saints and Vikings. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. I've got plenty more games to break down in week number 3 in the National Football League. Come back. You know you want to come back and join me as I continue to break down the action in week number 3 in the National Football League. See you in a bit.